Welcome back to another episode of the Liberated Woman podcast, posted in my Instagram stories. If you would like to hear about our move to Costa Rica and what has been happening for us during our time since we've arrived here 6 weeks ago, and you all voted yes, I would love to hear your story. I'd love to know what's going on for you. So here I am talking to you from my hammock outside my casita. It's almost time for sunset, and all I can hear around me right now are the birds that are chirping. There are some hummingbirds, colibri, they're called in Spanish, like darting around the trees. I can see butterflies, I can hear crickets, and hopefully the howler monkeys won't come and have a fun jungle jam with us, because when they arrive, you will definitely know they are here. They are so loud. So, thank you for tuning into another episode with me from the jungle in Costa Rica, where we've been for the last 6 weeks managing a retreat center. I have a lot to share about what has been happening for us over the last 6 weeks. I'm going to try and keep this episode short and bite sized so that you really allow yourself to sink into and melt into some of the stories I'm about to share with you. And I hope that some of the things that I share with you in this episode will also really allow you to know where you are holding yourself back, where you get to liberate yourself, where you want to be expressed in your full self, and where you get to walk that path to wild liberation. Because if you are familiar with this podcast, you will know that this is all about forging the path to your wild liberation, unshackling yourself, breaking down the chains, the stories that have been binding you, that have been passed down through your ancestors in your DNA, that live in your cellular system, dispelling the myths and the spells that have been cast upon you so that you can fully liberate yourself and allow the truth of who you are in your pure essence, your artistry, your uniqueness, your magic to come shining through. If you are new to this podcast, welcome. I'm so happy that you have landed here. My name is Shani. For the past 6 weeks, we've been living in Costa Rica. We moved here from the UK based on a vision and a prayer and a ceremony that guided us, myself and my partner, to be here. And what a journey it has been. So, I'm going to share with you some of the things that have been going on for us and some of the lessons that we have learned since being here. Now, first of all, we are in the jungle, and jungle life is not easy. When you come into the jungle and you come into a new land, as a shamanic practice, one of the things that we always do is to ask the land if we are welcome here. And that is something that I would really encourage you to do if you are a highly sensitive person, if you are somebody that works with spirit, if you are somebody that believes that we are all part of the same spirit world, the earth, the fire, the wind, the air, the waters, the ether, the unseen. It is our duty and our responsibility to check when we arrive in a new place if we are welcome to be there, if the land receives us, because we are the land and the land is us. And especially as a woman, the land is feminine. We are the feminine. And so we are not separate like the patriarchy would have us believe. We are one and the same. So checking with the land if you are welcome is really important. And I think that although Josh and I spent time communing with the land here and checking if we were welcome, there were many people that were landing on this land at the retreat center who didn't do that. And as a result, there was a lot of chaos here. There was a lot of misalignment happening, a lot of miscommunication, a lot of pent up frustration, and it was a real huge initiation for us on our journeys, on our shamanic path, as a woman who is liberating herself, as a woman who is here to liberate other women on their path. I go to places so that I can take you to those depths, and I'm not afraid to face the depths. I'm not afraid to face the shadows. I've been doing it all my life. And on this healing journey, we can't be afraid to face the shadows. We can't be afraid to face the uncomfortable, because it's through sitting in that uncomfortable space, it's through facing the uncomfortable that we actually get to liberate ourselves and to learn so deeply the parts of ourselves that need to be melted away and let go of, and the parts of ourselves that are no longer in alignment with the truth of who we are and the truth of who we're becoming, and the frequency that we want to hold here on this planet at this time, in this hugely transformational, momental moment in our Earth's history. Let's not mess about with it. So I'm going to share with you a couple of lessons that we've learned. I'll probably break this down into a couple of episodes because there's just been so much happening in the last 6 weeks, and we've been really just trying to find our feet. And one of the intentions that I had for this year going into 2024 was to ground. And grounding for me has never, ever been easy. And the more that I feel into that, and the more that I connect with my own ancestors and do work on myself and hold myself through breathwork sessions and hold myself through healings and use my light language to clear some of the density that is stuck in my body around why I find it so hard to ground in one place, I've come to discover that my ancestors have never ever felt safe being in one place. When I think back to who my ancestors are and where they came from, even within my immediate family, my grandfather escaped the war, the Second World War, living in Bulgaria, made his way to Israel on a boat where his sister was then shot by the British in Cyprus, and he had to continue and escape. And he found himself on a fisherman boat in Haifa, in the port of Haifa in Israel, where he landed and started to make a life for himself. You might start to hear the howler monkeys in the background. I can hear them. They're starting to come out to play. So if you hear them in the background, welcome to my jungle life. My grandmother came from Egypt, was kicked out of Egypt. Her father was kicked out of Algeria. My father came from Israel. My mum's side of the family were kicked out of Russia and Poland in the war. It has never been safe for my ancestors to stay in one place. We have always been on the run because we have always been persecuted for being Jewish. We've always been persecuted for who we are, for the power and the potency that we hold in our being, in our essence, just because of a lineage that we come from. And so all my life, I've been looking for an escape route. I'm always looking for the exit. Maybe this is something that you are familiar with. If you're somebody that arrives in a new situation, you immediately are looking for the exit. You're looking for the door. You instantly feel trapped. You instantly feel like, how do I get out of this situation? Where's the next place I can go? It could be because there is a story in your ancestry where it wasn't safe for you to be in one place. And that is definitely the case for me. Costa Rica is the third country that I've moved to now. When I was 8 months old, we moved from England to Israel. I lived there and grew up there for 3.5 years of my life before coming back to England to go to school. When I was 25 and I'd left an abusive relationship and was going through a court case after a really bad car accident that I had, I moved to Singapore at the age of 25 to teach. I was only supposed to go for 2 years for a contract that I had. I ended up staying 5 years. From there, I moved back to Israel to explore my roots, and that's where I had my spiritual awakening. And I connected so deeply to my ancestry and this understanding that it's just not safe. And after 4 years there, I knew it was time to leave. I had a channeled message that told me I had to get out by March 2020, and I left on February the 29th, 2020, 4 years ago, recently on the leap year that we just had. And I made my way back to the UK and I tried to find my home there. And I'm from the UK and still it didn't feel like home. And here we are in Costa Rica. And I've asked for this grounding, and we're here in the jungle, and the jungle is dense and it's deep and it is grounding me because I can't get out. I can't escape. There's nowhere for me to hide. I have to face my shit. And this is what these sorts of experiences do for you. They allow you to see yourself like a giant mirror being held up to your face, going, hello, here is your pattern that you keep repeating. You think that you want to run away. You think it's better over there. You're looking for the exit. But where is your safety? Your safety actually lives inside of you. You have to cultivate safety within yourself. It's not out there. It's not on the beach. It's not in Peru. It's not in Costa Rica. It's not in Israel, it's not in Singapore, it's not in Thailand or wherever it is that you want to go. They're just temporary escapes that will show you the things that you need to see in order to understand your patterns so that you can really face it and start to alchemize it. And that's what we've been doing here. Me personally, really alchemizing this idea of having to stay grounded. Where we are situated physically at the retreat center is quite remote. We're 10 minutes away in the car from a local town, a fisherman's village, beautiful beaches where we go to watch the sunsets and meet our friends. But we don't have a car currently. And as soon as you come out of the retreat center, it's this big rocky dirt road that I'm having to wear my hiking boots every time I walk up it in like the 40-degree heat just to get to the top of the road. And if we're lucky when we get to the junction, we can hail a hitchhike and it's safe to do that and we get a lift to the beach. But the other night, when we went to Nosara, which is a half an hour drive away, which is a bit more of like an upmarket, bougie kind of town, beach area with a lot more restaurants and cafes and things going on. And I went to an International Women's Day event to meet some women because, as you know, sacred sisterhood is so important to me. And it's something that I've been calling in here because I don't have any real friends yet. We're learning people, we're learning to connect with people. So I went into Nosara for this International Women's Day event. I had to walk up the dirt road, take a car part of the way, get on the back of a local person's, we call them ticos here, a local person's motorbike, most of the way to Nosara. And then I got on the back of a girl's quad bike to find where I was going. That is the kind of grounding that I'm experiencing where I can't just get up and go. And if I do, I'm being stopped at every corner where I have to just really accept, like, I'm here right now in this present moment, and I have to face the uncomfortable fact that I don't have the same level of independence that I had back at home in the UK when I had my car and I had my house and I could just go out whenever I wanted and I could walk into the city and I could cycle everywhere. I just can't do that here. And coming home that night from Nasara, Josh had come to meet me for dinner. Had a beautiful dinner, a lovely Italian restaurant, a real treat. It was International Women's Day. I treated myself all day. I romanced myself all day. I took myself to a swimming pool. I treated myself to a smoothie. I bought myself a really cute pair of dungarees in a secondhand shop. And then we went for dinner. And coming home, we could not get a hitchhike home. It's a half an hour journey to get back to our casita, to our retreat center. And we walked 3.5 hours before somebody picked us up. And in that 3.5 hours, I tell you, it was the best therapy session I think I've ever had. Because once again, when you are placed in an uncomfortable situation, it's going to bring up all of the things that you need to face, all of the shadows that you need to face, so that you can move through it, transmute it, alchemize it, and turn it into your power. And in that 3.5 hour walk home, Josh and I were able to fully let rip all of the things that we wanted to say to each other that we haven't been able to say to each other since we arrived in Costa Rica, because we are living together and we are working together and we are living in the same space. Not we have a separate house, but the same space as our manager or our boss or our employer, however you want to call him, which is a whole other lesson that I'll come to later. And so we're really with each other a lot of the time, and it's been difficult. And I have found myself getting stuck in certain loops of thought patterns that are not serving me. And I've been quite, in truth, I've been quite miserable, and I've had some experiences which have really challenged me and frustrated me and taken me to the edge of where I want to be so that I can alchemize it, transmute it, and liberate that part of myself that gets to hold my inner child and go, oh, I see you. I really see you, why this is so hard for you. And I love you regardless. And you're doing so well, my love. You're doing so well. And so, in that moment where we were in a place of frustration, not being able to get home, like going out for a beautiful day where I got to romance myself and treat myself and be in feminine energy, where I got to meet other women at this International Women's Day event, and then having to walk 3.5 hours home in the dark along dirt, rocky roads in my hiking boots, and it's still like 35 degrees at night time. We really faced our edge and we had the most uncomfortable situations, the most uncomfortable conversations, sorry. And you know what? It was so fucking liberating because when you allow yourself to lean into those uncomfortable conversations, when you allow yourself to be reflected to the patterns that you've been playing out and how it's affecting other people and how it's really affecting you, and you get that reflected back to you and it's magnified, you get to go, oh, wow. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for showing me where I have been truly stuck in a loop, where I've been really disembodying my true essence, where I have been lacking in power, where I've been ignoring the magic, where I've just been so consumed by my own self pity and my own self woe and my own frustrations. And of course, all of these feelings are so valid. Like, I'm allowed to be angry, I'm allowed to be frustrated, I'm allowed to express myself. This journey has not been easy. We're acclimatizing, we're landing on a new land. The land has welcomed us, but it didn't welcome the other people, and we're having to deal with that. We're having to really work with that, and we're having to face our own shit. And so these are two of like the really big lessons that I've learned since being here. Asking for grounding and really, really receiving grounding. Like, you can't really go anywhere because you don't have a car. And that's going to be uncomfortable for you because your ancestors have always been on the run and it's not been safe for them to stay in one place. And now I'm going to sit your ass down and I'm going to keep you in one place so that you find that sense of safety within yourself without having to run away, without having to find another place, without having to outsource yourself. Know that the safety lies within you. Cultivate that sense of safety by grounding. It's been such a huge lesson. And as soon as I accepted that, after this conversation we had on Friday night, as soon as I accepted that, it's like it opened up this massive gateway and portal between my womb and my voice. And I remember why I'm here. Remember why you're here. I remembered how powerful we are as women, how we get to birth and transmute and create, how we get to really dive so deeply into the depths and into our shadows so that we can alchemize it. We are alchemists, we are witches, we are oracles, we are seers, we are so incredibly potent and powerful. And I want you to remember that. And so I hope that these two lessons, there are so many more I've learned, and I'll do them in separate episodes. But I hope that hearing my story and not just thinking, oh, yeah, she's off to Costa Rica and she's manifested her dream and it looks amazing and she's always at the beach and she's having the time of her life. Yeah, kind of, maybe to some extent, but it's come with its challenges. And this is the real life. This is humanness. We are multidimensional beings, but we're living on an earth plane. And on an earth plane, we have to deal with what's been given to us here in this lifetime on this earth, because we came here at this time to break those stories and to rewrite the script. And you are the author of your life, you are the authority, and you get to recreate that script. Like this, I'm sitting in my hammock talking to you on my podcast. Uh, I don't have to sit at a desk with my microphone. It would be great if I had my microphone out here. And I just thought, screw it. I'm in my hammock. I was already doing some work. Why not just sit here and talk to you from my hammock? Because I can, because I broke paradigms, because I'm no longer sitting behind a classroom desk, selling my soul for time, because I'm sitting here instead talking to you and sharing my stories in the hope that it inspires you and liberates you and gets you fired up for knowing that you have a choice in your healing journey and that you get to lean into the uncomfortable situation so that you can alchemize it. This is where the power lies. This is truly where you get to liberate yourself. And for me, it's cracked open something so deep. I feel like we're now entering chapter 2 of our time in Costa Rica. It suddenly feels like there's been a shift in energy. We are connecting on a deeper level. We've got more intimate with one another. We're giving each other the space that we need. We're tuning into what it is that we truly desire. We are allowing ourselves to feel the uncomfortable and not avoid it. and really connect with the magic and the medicine that that gives us, and the magic and the medicine that it gives you when you lean into that uncomfortable edge, when you choose to face the uncomfortableness. I'm going to do a whole other episode on that because I had a really interesting experience with a toad who came to sit in my women's circle that I ran, my first women's circle here last Saturday. And there was this massive giant toad that came to sit in the circle. I'm going to do a whole other episode about that because he taught me so much in that ceremony that I want to share that with you in a whole other episode. But I really hope that you take away from today, the truth is that life is messy. We are messy. The feminine is messy. And the more that we can confront that messiness, the more that we can allow ourselves to sit and face the uncomfortable, the more that we can absorb the lessons and the medicine that comes from that, the more we liberate ourselves. Thank you so much for tuning into another episode of the Liberated Women podcast. I can't wait to tune in with you again next week. Until then, have a magical, magical day.